Is the Hidizs S9 Pro a Dragonfly Cobalt killer? Stick around, let's find out. Greetings, mate, and welcome aboard. Stuart Charles, your home studio, basics.com, helping you make sound decisions leading to a beautiful audio experience that will make you fall in love with music, not gear, all over again. So let's get right into it. The S9 Pro actually uses the same DAC chip that the Cobalt uses, so the 9038 Q2M. And like the Cobalt Red and Black, it does not have onboard controls, but does light up according to source file, which we'll get into in a bit. Now, jumping right into the sound, what can be said about the ESS sound that hasn't been said a million times before? Open, crisp, cool, airy, kind of sterile, very neutral. Now, this has been dubbed quote-unquote the Saber Glare by some people who don't particularly enjoy it. I can see where they're coming from, but I personally prefer the ESS sound over most other DAC chips, so that was definitely a big plus here for me. And what's also super interesting about the S9 Pro is it's a better value than both the Cobalt and the Red, and I'll tell you why right now. It's cheaper, so this will run you $100 to $120. You have a balanced option, 2.5 millimeter. Now, a lot of companies are gravitating towards 4.4, but it's still there if you need it. You know, the Dragonfly Red and Cobalt both have just a single 3.5 mil jack, so just a little bit of added value there. The S9 Pro can also run 32-bit up to 768K. Now, you guys know how I feel about this. 2444, 2448 is perfectly fine for me, but some people may utilize the higher PCM. Now, I wrote an article on this. I'm not going to get into it that much here. I'll link it down below. Now, the Dragonfly Red and Cobalt both only supported 2496, which is, again, perfectly fine, but some people may actually appreciate that. So it's something to keep in mind. Not going to debate this with you, Jerry.
And then I'm not going to debate you, Jerry. Okay? I'm not going to sit here and debate.
One thing the S9 Pro lacks in comparison to the Red and Cobalt is it doesn't have quite as much power. Unbalanced at 32 ohms, it has 100 milliwatts, and balanced at 32 ohms, 200. Now, the Dragonfly Red and Cobalt both have 135, if I remember correctly. So, you know, not a huge difference there, but again, you may want to take that into consideration before purchase. Now, as good as all that sounded, I do have a few gripes with the S9 Pro, and we'll get into that right now. So even though it's aluminum alloy, it feels very, very cheap. It's almost like holding a toothpick in your hand. This is definitely the lightest and flimsiest build piece of kit I've held in my hands to date. It does not put your mind at ease at all. To me, it's kind of one of the most glaring issues with this unit. It looks really nice, but it's so light that it actually won't stay upright on my desk plugged into my laptop unless I have the Ananda's cable plugged into it, interestingly enough, and I'll put some B-roll up of that. But if you're wondering about the actual weight, it's 11 grams, if you can believe it, and the Dragonfly Red is 23, and it feels robust and durable, like it could withstand some abuse, but it feels like if you sneezed or farted in the wrong direction, the S9 Pro would break down. So that's definitely number one main concern. Number two, and this is something that I read from reviewers over a year ago on Amazon, and I had the same issue, and that is that the adapter, there's a glue issue with the Type C to Type A adapter. It's actually in two pieces on my desk now. I'll put up some B-roll, but I find it a little bit concerning that Hidizs has not fixed this issue. This review that I read was from June 28th of 2021, and I read a bunch of other people had the same problem. And so it was a little bit jarring. I went to pull out the adapter from my laptop, and it just broke in two pieces. So not good. Now, it still works, but it's just a huge pain to get in and out. Yeah.
That's what she said!
So it actually gets stuck in my laptop and I cannot pull it out properly. So definitely something that Hidizs needs to improve ASAP as far as I'm concerned. Third issue is, and I read this on Amazon, I haven't had problems with it yet, but the Type C to Type C cable that you're going to be using with your laptop has been known to malfunction and kind of, I don't know, break down similar to the adapter situation. So that's also something to take into account. And lastly, this will be something that's specific to phone users. It's been reported that doesn't work with Samsung devices. Now, I don't have a Samsung, so it's not a big deal for me, but if you have a Samsung, you might not want to purchase this. Now, with all that said, I went into this really wanting to recommend this because of everything I mentioned about value over the Dragonfly Red and Cobalt. Now, I think both, well, the Cobalt was never worth it to me, as you all know, but the Dragonfly Red is a DAC that I've been recommending for quite some time because I like it a lot. I use it pretty much every day. But the S9 Pro, if it weren't for these build issues, would be a much better value. I mean, it is a better value, but I mean, you're essentially getting the 9038 chip at a third of the price, which is eyebrow raising for me. I mean, I never recommended the Cobalt. I thought it was a clear misstep from AudioQuest. I despise the whole situation with that. But if you're getting what is essentially the same thing at $100, like, how can you really say no? Although I'm not recommending the S9 today because of the build issues. It was close. I mean, I don't know. I can't do it because holding this thing in your hand, it's like I don't know. It's like freaking holding a toothpick in your hand. So what would I rather you get? Definitely my top portable option right now is the BTR5. The BTR5 has 2.5mm balanced. It's a Bluetooth DAC, and it's also built a lot better than the S9 Pro, and it comes with onboard volume controls as well, which I like. I didn't really mind that on the Dragonfly Red. I don't really mind it too much on the S9 Pro, although now that I've had the BTR5 for a while, I kind of prefer just, you know, using a volume dial on the side or the buttons. So the BTR only provides 80 milliwatts at 32 ohms unbalanced. Now, as mentioned before, the S9 Pro provides 100. Again, not too much of a difference. You're not going to really notice it all that much. I find that the BTR5 is perfectly fine for most headphones that I have. In fact, I haven't had an issue with any of the headphones in my apartment, and I have a lot of them. I'm not a hoarder. Now, balanced, you're getting 240 milliwatts, so a little more than the S9 Pro. So for me, this is a wash because unbalanced, you're getting a little more from the S9. Balanced, you're getting a little bit more from the BTR5, so kind of a tie there. Another thing is the BTR5 only supports 32-bit 384, which again, not a big deal for me, and native DSD up to 256, I believe, whereas the S9 Pro is 512. So again, if you care about that stuff, more power to you. So I also think the BTR5 sounds a little bit better than the S9 Pro. This is probably just my imagination. The BTR5 actually houses in the ESS chip, but it's the 9219 variety. To me, it was a tad more refined and crisp, but again, this is probably just me conjuring up stuff that probably isn't there. Finally, the BTR5 is $129, which is similar to the S9 Pro, a better value than the Dragonfly and Cobalt, and I think also the BTR5 is a better value than the S9 Pro because of those issues that we mentioned. Now, if those issues weren't there, I would probably recommend the S9, but I honestly just cannot do it because you have to hold it in your hand to understand what I'm saying. It's really concerning, and I'll just leave it at that. So my recommendation right now, still BTR5 as top portable option, and I'll probably do a video, an updated video on my portable DACs, best portable DACs. I'll leave links down below for all that stuff, my article, playlists, everything, you know the deal. So that about wraps this one up. Don't forget to ask me about my grandchildren, and don't ever give up. Aight?